Hello dear programs, I hope the cycles have been indeed kind to you. Today we address the fact that Disney has finally confirmed that Tron 3 is almost moving forward. Finally, after the years of waiting. Which gives us all the more reason to speculate just what this movie might be about. We will do a plot speculation working with what we have, which is not much, so expect this to be a full-blown geek discussion and talk. Before we start though, I just wanted to quickly remind you that Tenet is coming and I will be doing my reviews and breakdowns on it very soon. I will explain in more detail at the end of this video, so make sure to stick around. My name is Mr. Feature, and without further ado, let's delve in. First things first, what do we officially know about this movie? We know that the movie will be directed by Garth Davis, not to confuse with Gareth Edwards, who directed Rogue One. Well, at least I was the one to confuse it initially. Davis, though, made a critically acclaimed Oscar-nominated movie Lion, which is apparently insanely good. I haven't seen it, so can't comment much on it, but to me it's always a big plus if a director is experienced in his craft and has a movie of such high standard behind his belt. We also know that Jared Leto is starring in the movie and most likely, judging by the overwhelming amount of rumors, will be playing someone named Ares. Talking about Ares, apparently the title of the movie is Tron Ares. What this could mean and what the role of Jared Leto in this movie can be, I will mention a bit later in this video. What else do we have here? Well, Cinema Blend has this very good summary about the first version of the script that was supposed to be for the sequel to Tron Legacy called Tron Ascension. The quote goes, "Since roughly 2017, when Tron Legacy director Joseph Kosinski dropped the first hint at Q&A he was attending, Jared Leto as Ares has been rumored to be a thing. However, this was also the time that Kosinski was talking up then current draft of Tron 3 named Tron Ascension. When the recent wave of developments kicked off, it was also specified that the last writer on the draft, Jesse Wigato, was the current author of the film's story. While this isn't a direct sequel to Tron Legacy, it's pretty likely that Tron Ascension's plot and characters are already factoring into Tron 3. If Ares is our lead, this could also mean something pretty big for the new film. So to sum up, it seems extremely likely that Tron 3 will draw from the initial sequel script that was made under Kosinski and will be a spin-off / sequel to Tron Legacy. Or could it be a prequel? Well, more on that very soon, I promise. Here's what Joseph Kosinski had to say about Tron Ascension movie though. The idea for Ascension was the first act was in the real world, the second act was in the world of Tron, the multiple worlds of Tron, and the third act is totally in the real world. Very interesting, isn't it? It seems that we were in for a war between humans and machines, kinda like Matrix all over again. But that's actually totally it. This is all we know about Tron and all the rumors that are at least somewhat credible. So, not a lot of information to go on, isn't it? And this is not to mention that Tron 3 has not been grid-lit yet, so it's not even at the development stage. Though the fact that Disney allowed Leto to make an official announcement means that there is a 95% chance this movie will go ahead. But even if it didn't, who's gonna stop us from speculating, right? Alright, so I have three main theories on what Tron 3 could be about. I'm gonna go in order from the most likely to least likely, so bear with me as we descend into madness of rumor and speculation. Plot theory number 1. Tron 3 is an indirect sequel to Tron Legacy with a completely unique story that still takes place in the same universe. Look, as much as I want to see a direct sequel to Tron Legacy, I have to admit that the finale of the second installment was quite solidifying. The story that spanned over the course of the first two movies came to an end, and to be honest, I am excited about seeing new programs and people at play with the grid. And I do believe that this is the direction Tron 3 will go, well, at least most likely. I would guess that Jared Leto will play a programmer, soft engineer, maybe a hacker, who is potentially indirectly involved with ENCOM or was keeping personal tabs on the Flint's family. I have a feeling that Leto might play something along the character of Aldrich Killian in Iron Man 3, an unsuccessful yet talented scientist who has been rejected and misunderstood by the world. Somewhat of an anti-hero / villain. And I do believe that Leto will create this program, Ares, which could be a virus or have a similar purpose to that. What I do not want though, nor do I think will happen, is another villainous program who wants to take the world, thus being another online digital tyrant. I think this program might be like a universal hack that will allow Leto to corrupt the real world's technology whilst also building a new one on the grid. I do think that on his mission he might come across Quora, who might either try to stop or help Leto, who knows. I also think there is a good chance that we will see Leto play two characters, himself in the real world and his program alter ego on the grid, very much in line with the established Tron traditions. In fact, I would guess that Leto might try to build a new world along with Ares on the grid, to then liberate the free world, so essentially fulfilling Clu's plan. In any case, war must be at the center of it all, as Ares is a Greek god of war. Also, this would tie in nicely with what Kosinski had to say about Tron Ascension, where first and third act will take place in the real world while the main build-up happening on the grid. I think this movie will and must have some twists and turns, otherwise it would be a little too similar to the previous two installments. But if Disney waited this long to make it, putting a talented filmmaker in director's chair, they know what they're doing. Theory number 2. Tron 3 will not be an indirect sequel, but actually a prequel to Tron Legacy. That's right, the continuation in the Tron saga may not be a continuation at all. Look, I would in fact think that this is the most likely scenario if only Disney would have given a bit more clues on this movie being a prequel. But let me explain why this is a strong possibility nevertheless. If you are a true Tron fan, then you had seen or at least have heard of Tron Uprising. It's an animated prequel series that runs on Disney channels that filled in some story gaps between the first and the second movie. And the center of the plot we had Beck, who was a normal program by day cycle but a secret apprentice to Tron by night. Unfortunately, even though this show was insanely good, it ended on season 1 due to a lack of viewers. But the thing is, the show was critically acclaimed, and there is a cult following to it. Why? Well, because we as fans are insanely invested in Flint's story. And yes, the second movie might have failed to be as big of a box office hit as Disney might have hoped, but it did double if not tripled the number of Tron fans around the world. Look, what I'm saying is we all love Flint's dynasty and their story on the grid and in the real world. Do you not think it would make sense for Disney to opt for less risk and do a movie with familiar characters? Sure, you can do a sequel, but as I said earlier in the video, the ending of Tron Legacy was a fitting conclusion to the whole Flint saga. But if you did a sort of a spin-off movie that may be centered on this hacker with this programmed Ares on the side, that could result in something cool. In fact, you want a Tron movie with a war? Well, there was a war. Remember that Zeus in Tron Legacy revealed that before there was a Purge iOS, there was a great war between free programs and Clue. We had a bit of a glimpse into that war in the Tron Uprising, but what if we had a whole feature-length movie focused on that? It would be like World War II, but inside of a computer. And what if a program called Ares was one of the leaders of the resistance? Or perhaps he was the right hand to Clue and told him about a plan to invade the real world. Either way, this option sounds both quite possible and intriguing. We could occasionally bump into Flynn or Quora in the story, satisfying fans at all angles. In fact, this movie could maybe pick up where Tron Uprising left off. Ooh, I start to think that I want this scenario above all others, to be honest. But let's not lose our mind just yet. We have one more theory to talk about. And that theory is that Tron 3 is no bullshit but a direct and full-on sequel to Tron Legacy. Look, if there is anything I had learned about the movie industry, it's that do not trust what studios say, or actors, or directors, anyone in the industry. They can lie whenever and however they want. It's their movies. What are you gonna do about it? I have a tiny small feeling that maybe they're saying this next movie won't be a direct sequel because they want to play it safe, as they are still probably negotiating with the old cast of Tron Legacy to come back. To be honest, with the directorial success that Olivia Wilde is currently having, for example, I'm not even sure why she would be motivated to come back to Tron franchise. It takes a lot of talking, arguing, negotiating to get the original cast on board. And this is not to mention that the project hasn't even been greenlit yet. That means that the script can change in any direction or even completely be scrapped and started from scratch. So we can't deny a possibility of Tron Ares ending up a direct sequel to Legacy. And what could such a direct sequel be about? Well, I always imagined that Quora has a lot of story potential and could easily be the next lead. How would an iOS interact and live in the real world? Will she be hunted by world governments for experimentation purposes? Will she live a discreet life? Who knows what kind of connections she made on the grid and who might be looking for her? Maybe Leto will use his program Ares to track Quora down as he needs her to execute his plan or to get on the grid. I have a feeling a direct sequel would be something along those lines. I do kind of wish Kevin Flynn would come back, but well, maybe there is another secret version of him like Clue, waiting in the shadows to make his move. I guess time will tell. Anyway guys, what do you think might be the plot of Tron 3? Do you think it will be a sequel, a prequel, or a reboot? Do you think we have a chance at seeing the original cast come back? Well, let's talk about it all in the comments. But before we wrap up, as promised, I wanted to give a few heads up about upcoming Tenet videos. So I'm seeing this movie on Wednesday, 26th of August, so hopefully I have enough time to post my non-spoiler review at latest by Friday 28th. Again, it will be completely spoiler free, so please do not worry, I won't ruin this experience for you at all. Spoiler review will probably come much later, around mid-September, as that's when it opens in USA. I might do a breakdown video if I spot enough cool things, but also please feel free to send or comment your ideas down below. You will of course be credited if I use them. Alright, that's it on my side. Once again, thank you guys all for watching. I do appreciate you taking the time to check out my videos. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you feel like it, as it helps me to produce more content like this. Thanks again, and I see you in the next one.